think people really know the true hypnotic power of television. You know how it pulls us in and just keeps telling us to consume, buy, and tells us to hate each other and separates us and causes the greatest divides, all under the name of entertainment. And every time I turn on my TV, it's just like no surprise. It's all of those programs and they're pushing out lies. And in between there's the adverts and they do it again. And they're trying to convince us that we're friends. And they have us trained like good little soldiers. 1, 2, 3, 4.
They say we're going to spend $1 trillion this Christmas, believe it or not.
Watch it again in slow motion. See how mild and good tasting a cigarette can be. Or doctors smoke. Watch it again in slow motion. Watch it again in slow motion. Watch it again in slow motion. Slow motion.
One, two, that's off. 1, 2. Okay, I'm back to normal again. Oh boy, who knows? Who knows? Yeah, hello everyone. Yeah, I've got a show lined up today. I'm going to leave a couple of bits out, but I'll be talking or hinting a little about the commoditisation of feminism, a little bit about the shooting this week, and a few other bits. So, you know, just bear with me, and, you know, I'll get straight on with the show. By the way, the intro tune that you're hearing now, I made that myself. I love making music. I'm looking forward to some people coming, stepping up, if you know anyone, or if you yourself make any music, to make some intro music, and or maybe to collaborate with me on making some music. Right, I think I'm ready to go live anyway. Let's just do this. Yeah, let's do this.
I think people really know.
Oh, what happened now? Right, so I'm live. Good evening, good afternoon. Right, I'm the OBG. Going to be presenting you with maybe half an hour today of show and so on. It's been quite a mad week this week, to be honest. It's been a good week for me. You know, good weather out in Spain. I'm getting old now. I rate my weather on the ability to dry my clothes. And if I can hang my clothes up outdoors to dry, which I've been able to do so far, you know, every time throughout the year, right up until, you know, this morning, then I consider that I'm having good weather. But I think maybe it's been a long summer actually, not summer, autumn. It's been really good weather over here in Valencia. I think maybe end of December it might change. Who knows? But then that means we'll only get like 3 months of coldish weather, January, February, March, and then it'll pick up again. So hello Linda, hello Paula, Pete, Steve and Kai. Yeah, so I'm going to kick straight off. I'm not going to wait for people to come on. In fact, if you do want to hold on, stay with me, then, you know, I'll give it another minute or two. So people either don't have to go back to here at the beginning of the show, and also I don't have to repeat it. So let's have a look. Just bear with me a sec. I'm just going to be getting my studio set up here. Okay, let's swap these windows over. Hope you've all had a good week as well, by the way. Understand the weather's pretty cold. Hello, Pam. The weather's pretty cold in the UK. I've been making fun of it, I must admit. I'm glad to have got away. I don't think I can do another winter, to be honest, in a cold country. Hello, Julia. Hello, Marie. You know, I've always a skinny kid. I didn't realise how skinny I was as a kid, to be honest. I wasn't really a self-conscious kid. I think if anyone knows me as a kid, there's some people online who know, you know, we were poor. We had to get a grant to get our clothes. And we weren't embarrassed about that neither. And I didn't know at the time, but everyone else was poor, you know, around us mostly. Well, you know, for the informative years that I grew up in Dagenham. And we were the only kids in the school, by the way. If anyone can back me up on that, we were the only kids in the secondary school, in my school, that wore school uniform. That was me and my brother and sister. We all had school uniform. And I saw a picture of it recently, and I thought, Jesus Christ, we look kind of smart. It must have looked odd at the time, maybe to other kids, I don't know. But it looked really odd to me, looking back and seeing a picture of me in a class with 30 kids, and I'm the only kid with a school uniform on. And another picture which I saw, like I think it was an event in the playground or something, and you know, there's 100 kids and I'm the only kid with a school uniform on. So that was me talking about about being self-conscious. So I was never really a self-conscious kid. I used to act up, play around, do like funny sketches, just be silly. But I took stuff in. I was always learning, and I wasn't really too bothered about what people thought about me. But it wasn't ever with malice, never with hatred, never like, I don't give a sod what people think. It was always just kind of, well, I don't understand why people aren't this free, why people don't want to just throw their hands up in the air, why people just don't want to enjoy themselves and do the silly things that their heads are telling them to do. What's that, Linda? You were poor. Yeah, I think we all were. They dragged us poor kids out of London and stuck us in Dagenham. So as I said, I knock Dagenham sometimes, but that's because of the negative things that I've experienced and witnessed. But I also have so many, fantastic memories, and people forget that as well. As soon as I say something negative, they jump on me, and they want to go crazy. And it's just like, calm down. I'm allowed to talk about my bad experiences in life, and you can't judge me for that. They're my experiences. Hello, Christian, Angie, and so I recently been feeling great. But I also know some people. Listen, guys, you're going to have to bear with me a second, be honest. I should set off a bit early. I just want to set something up there. I'm going to switch to a pause screen. It's going to take me about 45 seconds, a minute at the most. Don't go away. I'll be right back. Yeah, I'll be right with you. Okay. Thanks for bearing with me. I just wanted to get some stuff ready there. And hi, Ray, good to see you there. Vince. I was just talking about a little bit about growing up, being poor. And I never use poor as an excuse or think it was bad that I was poor. It was sad that I was poor. We didn't know we were poor because everyone else around us was poor. And I think there were some of us who had a little less money in the poor people as well. And maybe once in a while you may have kind of assumed that or felt it, but never at home, because we always had food on the table, a roof and a lot of love. And we hung around with other people, their houses were not much, better than ours, and so everything was on the level. You thought that's what life was about. But it was, as I got older, then you look back, you think, Jesus Christ, we were poor. And for me and the people, especially some of the people who are online now, I'm not going to name people, but we've done really well for ourselves, haven't we? You know what I mean? Everyone got out, you took your education, you went out, you worked hard, you grafted, you just ploughed on and on and on. And now what happens, we're all in a kind of same position. You know, we're in our 50s and everything's kind of okay. And we realise that life is a journey. And even those who are born into money, their lives aren't necessarily better than ours because they've got their struggles as well. I think they've got a tiny little bit of an advantage there. But I think mentally we know we've got this struggle. We're fighting and we're moving forwards. And that gives life its value for us. And we can look back and laugh. We can look back sometimes and have the sad memories. But I think, and this is the reason I take the mickey out of a lot of middle-class people, I think, imagine being born with money. There's no flavour to life. There's no fight. And, you know, there is on a level, I guess, but I think for the greater majority of those people's lives, and I talk to a lot of them, they're just vacant. They seem shallow. They just grow up with everything. They've never had to fight for anything, whereas you may have had to really work hard, get a paper round, do a job even as a teenager, so you could buy your favourite, like a book or something like that, or a pair of trainers, and they just had it and had it and had it. So as I was saying, winter's coming on. It's getting a little bit colder, and it's not really bothered me so much over here, I've got to admit. I put my heating on about 4 or 5 weeks ago, and just for one day, and I turned it off, and I haven't had it on since. But something I did want to talk about is about people who hold on to the nonsense. And I know those of you who truly suffer, it doesn't apply to you. But there's this thing called S.A.D, and it's a seasonal affective disorder. And apparently, it's another form of depression. But I truly believe that we're supreme beings, like all animals, and we don't or shouldn't have an ailment for every single reason that it takes to enrich, like the drug companies. And, it's now we've got illnesses because it's winter. We're strong animals. Grow up. If you feel like really low all the time, I say it to people, change your lifestyle. In fact, quit your job, because this seasonal affective disorder, or S.A.D. as it's called, it's a type of depression that's related to the changes in season. And this S.A.D. begins and ends at about the same time every year. And if you're like most people with S.A.D. or claiming to have it, your symptoms start in autumn and they continue into the winter months. And they sap your energy, make you feel moody, and sometimes it causes depression in the early spring or summer for these people. And apparently it can be treated with light therapy, I think that's called phototherapy, medications and psychotherapy, which to me are all unnatural cures to replace good living. And feeling depressed most of the day or nearly every day is one of the symptoms. In fact, there's quite a few symptoms, like losing interest in activities that you once enjoyed, having low energy, having problems with sleeping, experiencing changes in your appetite or weight, or your weight, feeling sluggish or agitated, having difficulty concentrating, feeling hopeless, worthy or guilty, and having frequent thoughts of death or suicide. Now, to me, those symptoms are pretty much symptoms for any and everything. And we attribute these lows and the way we feel always to a new ailment. And then that just means us forking out more money for more drugs. And I think these are standard symptoms for every other illness that they attribute to us. And I know some people truly suffer from something we can't put we can't guess what it is, so we attribute this illness to it. And I think nobody truly knows except for me. But there are some likely causes for S.A.D, which people put forward, and there's a couple that I like. For instance, they say your biological clock, the circadian rhythm, and the reduced level of sunlight in autumn and winter may cause the winter onset of S.A.D, and the decrease in sunlight may disrupt your body's internal clock and lead to feelings of depression. Serotonin levels, that's a drop in serotonin, which is a brain chemical neurotransmitter that affects the mood, and that may play a role in S.A.D. Reduced sunlight can cause a drop in serotonin, by the way, and that may trigger depression. And melatonin levels, believe it or not, so the change in season can disrupt the balance of the body's level of melatonin, and that plays a role in sleep patterns and mood. Hello, Nick. Well, that's with the melatonin as well, vitamin D. So, like people with dark skin, black people, we have a stronger negative effects to this vitamin D deficiency. And like a friend of mine the other day went and got 20,000 IUs. You know, they sell you 3,000 over the counter and so on, but it doesn't serve for anything. If it is a vitamin D deficiency, you really need to go and get a prescription and get 20,000, 25,000 IUs. You take those for a couple of weeks, I think, and then they last you for months and months. And they can lift you up. But don't forget, it's normal to have some days when you do feel down. But if you feel down for days at a time and you can't get motivated to do activities that you normally would do, then I would suggest like seeking advice. But don't turn to substances or make yourself high with drink or drugs. As good as they are, they shouldn't fill that gap for you. And it's a tough one, really, to change your lifestyle completely. I must admit, I'm one of those people who took that route. I found myself like sometimes very fucking rich, like financially because of my profession. And then other times I was, like rock bottom. I never called it rock bottom. I aimed for it. I've done it several times. People who know me have given away my house and all its contents 4 times in my life, or 5 times actually. And I just kind of go, it's not madness or nothing. I just go, you know what, I'm not happy. I don't like my job, I don't like my surroundings, I don't like the way life is for me at this moment here. So I'm just going to change everything. And then I go and change, and I always work my way back up. And I'm never like ill, I used to pretend I was ill a lot when I was younger because I just didn't want to go to work or be around people or do stuff. But I'm just not ill because I think a lot of those ailments, for instance, this S.A.D that I was talking about, and this is time for one of my weekly theories, okay. We're animals. We're meant to change the way that we live. If you look at animals, they change. They may be hunting on the Serengeti plains, or they may be like flying around catching worms and, living. But as soon as winter comes, many hibernate, or they slow right down, or they store up food and so on. But we don't. We just carry on. And not carry on in the way that we want to normally. The way that we carry on is the way that our employers in this capitalist system want us to. It's winter, and you know what? We all feel it. It's darker. You don't want to get up in the morning. You don't want to stay out so late maybe and so on. It's time to hibernate. But you have to go to work. And then this going to work and not giving your body a chance to naturally to adapt to its surroundings is what makes us ill. Remember, you heard it here first. Right, on to the serious stuff. I'm going to be brief on this one because I think I said quite a bit on Facebook, and many people from Facebook are, hello Kai, Lisa, I think I said hello to Lisa. That shooting in London this week was savage. Everyone who saw it knows it was savage. And there's a part of us which loves seeing that stuff, either because we've been brainwashed with it, we've been indoctrinated with that, we've seen so many films since we were children. To us it's natural. There was a time when shooting was actually banned on television. Can you imagine it? A kiss was banned on television. They seem unrelated. What I'm trying to get at here is things that we're not accustomed to in our society, seeing necessarily in public. But now you can turn a film on and just sit there and watch a guy shoot somebody, and someone shoot him, and someone shoot someone else, and someone attack a woman, someone rape a woman, and it's entertainment. When you look at the end of the film, it's like from Sony Pictures Entertainment. It's all entertainment. So we've been fed this idea of people getting shot is entertainment, regardless of that person's role in the event. And it desensitizes us to it. And when you look at the London shooting, look at the policeman who done the shooting. If you're a sort of person who can watch these type of videos, I very rarely watch them, even though I know... I know what's happening in them. I just refuse to watch them. But this one came in thick and fast, and I thought I'd take a look. And the guy who done the shooting, obviously, he's got to be in a particular mode, but he was a savage. He just wanted to kill that guy. Now, for those of you who want to argue, but he killed somebody. I know, but we don't have execution in our society. We have to give people a trial. This is what keeps us civil. Otherwise, every time someone does wrong, we just go out and we harm them in the street and we become a lynch mob. Now, this guy's crimes may seem more severe. We don't know what's true. We don't know what's not true. All we know is that we saw the shooting. So from that, you could see that he was disarmed already. There was someone on top of him, fighting him, restraining him, whatever. And the other policeman had to actually pull him off, making chicken soup, pull him off, get a clear shot, and then shoot the guy. Now, to me, it seems as if they could have restrained him and given him a trial, because loss of liberty is something we've decided in our society is the most severe sentence. Loss of liberty for the rest of your life, or loss of liberty to rehabilitate you, over 15, 10, 15, 20 years or so. And I think they had an opportunity to do that. And that's what's making me vocal about this. We mustn't allow or get used to or accept the execution of people, no matter what their crime. If you believe in the death penalty, fair enough. I think I'm starting to believe in it a bit more as I get older. I still don't, but there's something that's saying to me, like, maybe I'm wrong. I know we're savage at our heart. If you saw someone kill a little girl, if you don't want to hear savage stuff for 30 seconds, switch off, turn your sound down. I'm not going to go hard, but it's not nice. Okay? Right. If you chance upon a man just raping a 7-year-old, or you knew where that man lived who raped a 7-year-old, me personally, as much as I say I don't agree in the death sentence, this baying crowd in the society, I'd cut his throat. I'd look him in the eye and cut his throat, right? And I know many people who would do the same. However, what we say is, look, we'd love to do that, we want to do that, but let's not do that, and that way we elevate ourselves in our society. Okay, horror over. Horror's over, you can come back in. We want to elevate our society. And the way we do that is not by just treating bad people good all the time, because I do think we should treat some bad people well, depending on the level. If you catch a thief in your community, don't necessarily beat them up. Don't, be savage with them. Pull them in, give them a little love, explain to them. I'm not talking about like what do they call those? Serial thief who just keeps on offending and keeps on offending, but you've caught someone, and it may not be their first time, but they've been caught. As far as we know, it's their first time. Show them a little bit of love, tell them not to do it, explain stuff. Why? Because that, if you have caught a real thief who doesn't care, they're going to carry on stealing. But if you've caught someone who's stolen for the first time, or someone who's stolen out of necessity or whatever, then you could change that person and keep them on the right track. And that's the most important reason for doing it. Because if you just attack everybody, you're also attacking the newbies. And if you treat people with love, then you've got a chance of winning the new people over. So with the shooting, yes, as I said, it's about showing our society, listen, this is what we're about. We've got this heart. We can apprehend criminals, and we can give them the sentence which we deem is the toughest sentence in our society, rather than allowing a small group of men to carry out executions. That's not good. And also, it's a coincidence that every election there's something like this goes on. It's also likely a setup. I can't help thinking, every time a terrorist attack happens, the Tory votes go up, by the way. So it's maybe a setup for Jeremy Corbyn, and you can already see that by some of the memes and so on. So the attack also clearly illustrated how how divided we are, with the haters on one side and us sensible folk on the other. And instead of looking for best solutions, we just ended up fighting each other. And what we really need is a hero. But a hero's going to go and smash shit up, right? Now, the film V for Vendetta summed this up nicely. And that was a prophetic movie with many interesting themes. And the film worked with our emotions, and it caused us to reflect on societal issues. And these issues are timeless. A tyrannical leader, a bad government, and the film portrays a dystopian London run by a dictatorship and descends rapidly into tyranny. However, the theme enlightens us to the fact that with enough belief, that a simple idea can change the way that a country is run. And this is something we can apply over and over again. And by the way, in that film, my favourite scenes are... let me think, those in which the news is shown to fabricate stories to fool the people and to believe in the party line. And this is reminiscent of the current trend in news stories. And if you haven't seen V for Vendetta, then I highly recommend it. And it's a movie which is based on the comic novel, graphic novel by Alan Moore. And it's definitely worth a watch. In the movie, also, they cleverly present how news is fake. And I don't really know why people bother to watch the news, to be honest. Like... what can you possibly learn from watching the news? I don't get it. To me, like, the news is a system of control that's run by people that are controlling us. And it's a system that's set up to keep you focused on the bad things in your life and to keep your vibrations low and to keep you in fear. And we're easy to control when we're in that state. Now, a friend of mine recently said that he learns from the news, or that anyone can learn from the news. And if you are watching this, my friend, by the way, it isn't about you. It's like something that you said, and it triggered me to say this. So it's about how the news keeps your mind in a small place, in a tiny little microcosm. And even though you're learning something, there's no doubt, what's the point of learning what they want you to learn? As an example, say you live in London and you can run all around London and learn about everything in London, but instead you choose to go into, let's say, the Houses of Parliament, and this is where you spend a lot of your time. And the people who own the Houses of Parliament, they actually own London, but they only tell you about what's going on inside the Houses of Parliament and to their favour. They don't tell you anything about the outside or what's happening outside. That's what the news is like. That's what watching the news is like. You're learning something new about what's going on inside, but it's just a little ecosystem and you learn nothing else outside. It's really awful to watch the news. The news is deliberately made to instill fear and to keep you vibrating so low. Go to a good news site if you have to and read or view good news only just for a week, and I guarantee that you'll have a different picture of the world. But instead, we keep on watching the sad and bad news, so we think the whole world's bad. Okay, moving on. Kleptomaniac. That wasn't a word. I was talking about someone who just continually, reoffends. Recidivist, I suppose. So, sorry, I wasn't reading your comments there. I wanted to go off on one. I want to stay on S.A.D, Nicola. Nicola, I'll come back to that. If you want to hang out, I'll come back in 10 minutes or so, and we'll come back on to the S.A.D. Hello, Deborah, Paula, John, Johnny B. So, I was going to talk about the commoditisation of feminism, to be honest, but I think it's a kind of subject maybe for another video. But should I touch on it or not? It's something that's close to me. I see a lot of companies, selling items under the name of feminism. In fact, one of them was called out, one of the big companies, because really capitalism doesn't support feminism. And that company, even though there was making T-shirts which said this is what feminism looks like on them, the shirts were actually made in sweatshops abroad by exploiting young female workers who are actually earning 35 pence an hour. And capitalism itself, as I said, isn't feminist anyway, and it was created by profiting off of the violence and labour of the oppressed. Even us working class, we're part of that. And I have videos about capitalism and some of those issues, and you can find that on my OBG chat channel on YouTube. It's called OBG space chat. I've got loads of videos on there. You love them. And if you do see any of the videos, by the way, just give them a thumbs up, because it really supports me. And it, in reality, means I can monetize the channel in the future when I've got more subscribers and more views. So yeah, with the feminism, I think I might give it a miss, and I'll move on to something else. If there's anything anyone wants to talk about, maybe we can do that, and then I'll jump back into something that I had planned to talk about, because I was going to talk about also about not being the centre of your story. And I've got stuff to say about that too. So anyone want to talk about anything in particular? Speak up now, or I'm just going to go on. Okay, let's play some music in the background, shall we? Let's open the music app. I like playing my music, the music I make. This would be nice for the background, I think. Hello, Rosita, Kulita. I think that's your real name now. 218. Yeah, this will work. No, it won't. Okay. Yeah, as I said, I make music anyway. If anyone makes music, wants to help me out, do a collaboration, do give me a shout as well. Okay, so talking about music and headphones, recently someone said to me that I shouldn't have my headphones turned up, too high when I was mixing. And this made me go and do some research, and I found out some real interesting things about sound. I think that music's too loud, isn't it? Yeah, just keep that there. So, and I found out some really interesting things about sound, to be honest, and I was quite impressed. So I can share some of that with you, because I know you want to hear it. So, let me share that with you. Let's see. Okay, so let's move that. There is some research that suggests, that people who are spending more time in significantly loud environments are more at risk from cardiovascular disease than those who aren't, apparently. And those that claim that, also claim that when our bodies are exposed to loud sounds, especially sudden and sounds out of our control, that we secrete stress hormones such as cortisol and adrenaline, and these are known to change the structure of our blood and likely to cause high blood pressure and irregular heartbeat, which in turn, in prolonged cases, sometimes can result in a heart attack or a stroke. And a study conducted in Germany suggests that there's a possibility that 3% of the heart attacks in the country are in direct connection to extended noise exposure. And also, according to another research in the US, decreasing environmental noise just by 5 decibels could save their country millions, or any country, millions in healthcare due to the immediate decrease in cardiovascular related diseases and treatments. And also, they say that frequent exposure to loud noises can also have quite a negative impact on mental health as well. And some researchers detected a connection that links loud noise to changes in one's behaviour, such as anger and violence. But it doesn't stop there, because recurrent exposure to noise can reportedly increase the chances of depression and anxiety, and some research even suggests that the risk of the two mental conditions for adults exposed to noise is as high as 200%. And oddly enough, people who have hearing loss due to intense noise but don't treat it are also more likely to suffer from depression than those who have hearing loss but treat it with hearing aids. Also, sleep disturbance. So loud noises can distract the brain from and prevent it from relaxing, and this can also lead to sleep deprivation. And even if a person does manage to fall asleep in a loud environment, many studies show that it most certainly reflects poorly on the quality of the sleep. Poor sleeping quality, on the other hand, is often connected with obesity, diabetes, and according to some studies, even Alzheimer's, meaning exposure to noise may not be the direct reason for these, but it can still be a secondary factor. And sometimes the noise may not even be obvious. Like, for instance, I used to grip my teeth at night, and then I realised I'd really bite them hard to cut the noise out for some reason, and it was a rumbling noise coming from the fridge, so it was indirect. And these are only a few of the ways that noise exposure can be harmful to our health. And in today's world of constantly growing cities with loud, never-ending construction works, expanding traffic, noisy machines, and stuff that we use in our everyday life, and loud parties, festivals or concerts, finding some peace and quiet can be a challenge. So finding quiet time is essential if we want to keep not only our hearing, but also our overall health. And finally, experts advise us to take all the steps we can in order to avoid noise exposure due to how it can affect our health and the quality of life. And that doesn't necessarily mean making immediate drastic changes in most cases, like quitting your band or selling your house if it's located in a loud environment, but it means protecting yourself from loud noises in any way you possibly can. Earplugs for PAN members or good soundproofing, such as double glazing on a property, would suffice. And you can also invest in a white noise machine, which is supposed to work. So finally, I just want to say, we've become accustomed to noise. However, the detrimental effects are still there. So I'd suggest that you take some time to study a little bit more about noise and have a little check on your home and your work environment. After all, your own health and well-being is your own responsibility. No music. Oh yeah, the music's gone off. Thanks, John. Hello, Alessandro. Okay, anyone want to talk about anything in particular? Are you still there, Nick? Culita. Yeah, I call her that. She's got a lovely bum. Okay, no one want to talk about anything. So, yeah, I'll move on. I think the music's a bit loud, isn't it? 1, 2. Hello, Luke. Hello, Cliff. How you doing? Okay, so I think I've turned the music off, actually. I just wanted to talk about us and how we view ourselves and people whenever we create a story. And that's to say, like, don't always be the centre of your story. You don't always have to be the centre. And it's been said, you know, that we place ourselves at the centre of a story every time. However, I don't think it's necessarily true. And we don't have to be the centre of our story. And we can place ourselves on the peripheral, but we have to work hard at it. For example, if I told you to picture yourself in a city centre, you're at the centre of your story. For instance, if I said to you, look north, south, east, west, then you can see equally in, you know, every distance. And that same applies if you're, you know, with a group of people and so on. We focus on ourselves as the centre of our story and everything's around us. But I think we can remove, well, not even think, I know, because it's something that I practice. You can remove yourself from the centre of your story and focus on other people. And it's quite liberating, to be honest, because you can move yourself off centre by doing this, by the way. I know it sounds a bit strange, but I have a theory number 2 for today. So imagine that you're sitting in a room with your friends. Now, instead of placing yourself in the centre of your story, place yourself sitting with your back against the wall in that room and focus on what one of your friends is saying. And this is just one way of doing it, because often we place ourselves in the centre. And I mean, literally, we may be at a party in our, you know, in a dream and a vision, but you're sitting in the centre of the room and the people around you. And even if you're not in the centre of the room, then there's maybe, you know, a circle of people nearby, or there's equal space behind you. Think about it. But you're very rarely stood with your back against the wall. I know some nightmares make it happen, but those stories aren't about you. That's when we don't have control. So the point I was making there, just briefly, was to say, think of others. Sometimes, even if you're sat on a park bench or in a public place, when you're watching people, don't consider those behind you to the left and right and so on. But sit maybe against a wall or against a tree, something behind you, and focus in front of you. Elect a person. Concentrate on that person and think about that person. Think about what they're doing, how they're doing. We all do that, you know, people watching, but we still do it with us at the centre. Try and place someone else at the centre of your thoughts and your visions and so on. And it's quite liberating. And soon, you know, the more often you do it, you'll be able to pick up a character and they become the focus of your thoughts and so on. I highly recommend it. Okay, look, if anyone wants to pick a topic, because I was going to talk about Hannah Arendt today. Now, not many people know her. She was born in 1906. She died in 1975. And she was the most influential political thinkers of the 20th century. And she was like a German-Jewish woman. She was forced to leave Germany in 1933. And she lived in Paris for like 8 years or so, working for a number of like Jewish refugee organisations. And in 1941, she immigrated to the United States and became part of some lively intellectual circle in New York. And she was smart as hell. She held quite a number of academic positions at various American universities until her death. And she's best known for 2 works that had like a major impact both within and outside the academic community. And the first one, The Origins of Totalitarianism, was published in 1951, and that was a study of Nazi and Stalinist regimes, and that generated a massive debate on nature, on the nature and historical precursors to the totalitarian phenomenon. And her second book, The Human Condition, which was published in 1958, was an original philosophical study that investigated the fundamental categories of labour, work and action. And in addition to those, she also published a number of influential essays on topics such as the nature of revolution, freedom, authority, tradition, and the modern age. And you can see why I'd like someone like her. But instead of me talking about her, what I've decided is I'm going to do a separate show on that one. If anyone wants to talk about anything philosophical, I'm your man anyway. So I'm going to skip Hannah Arendt, and I'm going to see if we can go into a topic of interest anyone wants to bring up rather than me. If not, then I think I'm likely going to sign off because I think I'm spent for today. Okay. Right. I think I'm going to leave it on that. I'll play out. And thanks for listening, everyone. It's been fantastic as usual. As I said, I'm improving. The delivery's improving. The quality's improving. And you can still see other videos that I make. I make videos such as what is veganism, the history of Buddhism. And I've got a series of videos, the history of who is, a short history of, and various other areas like science, philosophy and computing. Those videos are anything from 5 minutes to 30 minutes long, and you can see those on YouTube. If you go search for OBG space chat, you'll see my channel. Please subscribe, as it helps me, and it gives me also the confidence to keep on making these videos. Thank you for watching.
I don't think people really know the true hypnotic power of television. How it pulls us in and just keeps telling us to consume, buy, and tells us to hate each other and separates us and causes the greatest divides, all under the name of entertainment. And every time I turn on my TV, it's just like no surprise. It's all of those programs and they're pushing out lies. And in between there's the adverts and they do it again. And they're trying to convince us that we're friends and have us trained like good little soldiers. 1, 2, 3, 4.
They say we're going to spend $1 trillion this Christmas, believe it or not.
Watch it again in slow motion. See how mild and good tasting a cigarette can be. Or doctors smoke. Watch it again in slow motion. Watch it again in slow motion. Watch it again in slow motion.
La 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 da da dee. No, go on, you can go. You can leave now. Bless.
I don't think people really know the true hypnotic power of television. How it pulls us in and just keeps telling us to consume, buy, and tells us to hate each other and separates us and causes the greatest divides, all under the name of entertainment.
And it's just quite funny. I just ended the show there, and I can see that there's people still tuned in and people are still replying. So I've come back on. I ended the show on titles anyway, so I can cut it there and still post it up on YouTube. But yeah, if anyone wants to oh, thank you, I can go. Listen, guys, go. Like Ferris Bueller, go. It's okay, you can go home now. Go, really, bye.
I don't think people really know the true hypnotic power of television. How it pulls us in and just keeps telling us to consume, buy, and tells us to hate each other and separates us and causes the greatest divides, all under the name of entertainment. And every time I turn on my TV, it's just like no surprise. It's all of those programs and they're pushing out lies. And in between there's the adverts and they do it again. And they're trying to convince us
You know
that
what?
we're friends.
No, I'm done, mate. I'm done. It's finished. Go, Kai. And take the rest with you.
They say we're going to spend $1 trillion this Christmas, believe it or not.
Watch it again in slow motion. See how mild and good tasting a cigarette can be. Or doctors smoke. Watch it again in slow motion. Watch it again in slow motion.